Hi, this is Michelangelo Badio, and I'm here for Sawtooth Guitars, ChromaCast Music Products, and Goaty PS Music. Now, I'm playing a really cool guitar, and they just got this in stock. It is the Sawtooth Mahogany 12-string, and it is really beautiful. I like capos on it, on guitar, so it just got that, like this. Has a great sound to it. It has a Fishman preamp system, and this is a beautiful mahogany top, mahogany sides. The neck is gorgeous, and this Fishman preamp system is top of the line. And let me say hello to some people here. Let's see, we have Steve. Hey, Steve, I'll be seeing you in Montana pretty soon. Who else? Tanya, Alexis. Hey, John, Peter, how are you? I see you there here a lot, and I really appreciate the support. Let's see, Jenny, Roxana. Hey, Nick, how are you? Yeah, it's a really cool acoustic. Who else is on there? Martin, Landon, a bunch of people. So it's great. I appreciate it. I've been doing this live stream for years now. And hey, Tyler, how are you? Jenny, I see you online. A lot of cool people here. One of the things that I think in a career, hey Brian, let's see who else, a few more people, Chris, hello, and then Gustavo, Gary, it goes on and on. Roxana, hello, Larry. So I'm able to read this, and I'm also able to read questions. One of the things that I think, it comes down with anything. I mean, if you go into music, and you just want to play, nobody writes a song thinking it's going to be a hit right off the bat. You can usually tell. I mean, when you write something that's so intense and you're signed to a record company and the label hears this one song that just stands out in everybody's mind. Like I remember Under the Bridge by the Chili Peppers. When I was in Nitro, we were releasing our second album, and we heard this song, "Da-na-na-na-na, feel like I did that day, take me to the place I know." And we heard this, and everybody was like, my God, this song is just amazing. And our album came out, we did good, but it was our second album, and grunge came in, but the Chili Peppers were still très chic during that grunge movement. And I remember our record company telling us they believed so strongly in that song that it's not a question of if it goes number one, it's when. And and here's my point, consistency. Just keep writing, keep doing it. I mean, what have I done with these live streams? And it just translates, you don't give up, you just keep going for it. Now, let's see, do you think I'll get lots of chicks if I shred on acoustic? Dark Slayer, I think you're going to get whatever you put into it. That's what I think. I think if people want to be smug and funny online, hey, humor's subjective. Some people think it's funny, some people don't. If you want to get an audience, practice and learn rather than talk. So anyway, let's see. I just want to play a little bit here. Now, what I did is I put a capo on this. I mean, the intonation is awesome. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it's great. I really like this guitar, just the sound of it. Somebody asked me how I play Machine Gum Eddie. I've never written a song called Machine Gum Eddie, but I have written a song with Jim Gillette called Machine Gun Eddie, and Machine Gun. And then yeah, I heard somebody, saw somebody wrote Play Crazy Love. It's my favorite. I love that part. That I thought that was great. Like, I can't sing it as high as Jim. Like crazy, crazy, crazy love. We never knew life was that day. Crazy, crazy, crazy love. Crazy love. There's no way I can sing Jim Gillette, but I used to love this. He actually sang that song to me. We were on vacation. I was in Chicago visiting my parents over Christmas. We both lived in LA. We were in Nitro. We had an apartment together. He was out of town visiting family, and he's like, dude, I got this song. And I'm like, and he started to sing it to me, and I said, wait. And then what I did is I had him call me back and have the answering machine, the old school answering machine, and he sang the whole song in the answering machine. And he sang it just like tell me a little story about me and a girl. He sang it the way you heard it on the album. And so I heard, and I kept hearing, me and a girl breaking all this fairy tale world. Never thought I'd be to a high school sweetheart, so in love, my everything above. The angel I love that part. And then, of course, I always liked those like crazy, crazy, crazy love. See, it was a pedal tone on this, like. And then here's my favorite part of the song. Okay, wait, I have to. These wild chords, and then Jim just came up with this really killer harmony. You know, if you ever watch interviews of people that write a lot of songs or have written hit songs or been signed to major labels like Nitro was and the band Holland, you find that a lot of the songs are written very quickly. It's incredible. I mean, you can see it over and over, like a guy like Elton John. You know, he was writing, he would just read these lyrics from Bernie Taupin, and his lyricist. He'd pick, they give him a bunch of lyrics. He'd pick one like, oh, Tiny Dancer, or Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and all this. And I remember that when I was in the band Holland and we were playing, Tom Holland, the singer, came up with this song like I can't sing it this like one more time. Show them what I'm made of now. And then he went like, I don't know what to do. We were counting on you. Don't say no, you gotta run. And then he sang like, I don't know how we could do the same thing twice. I don't know how, I wanna know why. Yeah. So he sings this, and then I hear it again. I don't know what to do. We were counting on you. Don't say no, gotta run. And I go, that's killer. And I said, what is the chorus? And he goes, I don't know what to do. And he goes, gotta run. And I said, no, that's not the chorus. And I made this up on the spot. I went, gotta run. Gotta run. Gotta run. Oh yeah, you know I got to run. So I came up with the chorus of this just from hearing that. And you find, I was watching this, read an article, like, for example, John Lennon, when he gave George Harrison some advice on writing songs, and he said, just write it, don't dwell on it too long, don't write it and then let it sit. Now, I think sometimes that does happen and people resurrect songs, but many times the song just happens. It's something that I've learned. Even when I write music, my instrumental stuff, sometimes I just don't even know where it comes from. I mean, no boundaries, just go. Now remember, I've got this capo one. I love the sound. It's something that a lot of country artists use, and I mean, you can hear like a... It's just got this sound to it that when you raise it up... And the intonation. Sawtooth makes exceptional acoustic guitars. I've talked about this over the years, demoing these things live. Like, now look at, I'm at the 14th fret. I mean, listen to the intonation. It's right. Now, one of the things too I want to mention, it's a financial thing. The economy's pretty crazy right now, but what Sawtooth has put together is 0% financing. And this is a pretty amazing thing because a lot of times you get this 0% when it's a big ticket item. And this guitar, I don't know the exact list price, but I know that it's under $500 for this beautiful 12-string. And you can get 0% financing on that. So you're paying like $30 a month for this for maybe like, year, 14, 15 months, whatever the price is, and there's no interest. I mean, that's one thing that kills people. You pay for it by a credit card and you're paying 20% interest, 22% interest. It gets to the point where you can never catch up. I mean, the interest compounds and it just gets insane. And so it's a really great thing that Sawtooth has done. And, I've said it a lot, but, it's the best value you can get for a guitar anywhere on the planet. And then to help people to be able to want a new guitar and get it and finance it is amazing. But, back to these acoustics. You look for a few things with an acoustic. One is low end. Does it have a full, rich low end? When you think about a really expensive Martin, the super, super high end, they have the elements that you look for. You've got low, deep bass. You've got intonation, and obviously you don't want the action where you need a hammer to put it down. And so Sawtooth's got all three, and for an amazing price. You can't beat these guitars. I've used these for sessions. I've used them on albums because the intonation. Out of tune, you would hear it. It would be like, and it's a 12-string, and I'm beating the heck out of it. No mercy. No mercy. No mercy. Okay, but anyway, they make fantastic acoustics. I mean, great ones. They've got this, they've got, little parlor guitars, mini jumbos, another 12-string and maple, but this financing thing is really cool because not everybody can do this. Sawtooth and Chromacast are big companies, and they have great people running these companies. They're very forward-thinking, and I just love working with them. I mean, Joe, the main owner, and Kevin, the other main owner, they're brilliant people, and they're musicians. And you don't want to say run by musicians for musicians. That usually means I'm a musician and I know nothing about business. 99% of the time, I'm a musician, run by musicians for musicians. Shut up. See, it means, it would be better to say, I have a degree in business and I run a successful business and I love to play guitar. But when you have business acumen and you can make it work, I mean, it's with anything, with bands. I mean, why do some bands make it, some don't? Why do some products make it, others don't? Why does a singer translate with people and some singers don't? It's not looks or talent all the time. And I would put my money 100% on someone with not the greatest talent in the world, but the burning desire to make it, to be successful, versus someone who's extremely talented, great looking, has got everything in the world, but they don't work for it. Because you find that, the person that works the hardest usually is the one that gets it. And like someone said about like music theory or wait, you say it a lot for a reason, but I don't care. You are amazing. Oh, thanks. Artifacts, learn notes, names all over. Yeah, I'm just reading some of the questions here in comments. A lot of people online, this is another thing too. People aren't stupid. And I found, like, for example, in the 80s, we would do Gotta Run, right? Gotta run, gotta run. And then we'd have this big ending. We're ending the song now. Let's rip. Wah! Wait. We're ending. We're almost there. We're finished. It's like, okay, we get it. You're ending the stupid song. And those used to be like the big 80s endings. I mean, I did it and everything. And then you watch bands like Coheed and Cambria. They end, you're like, what? And I've learned, and the point is this, that people know when the song's going to end. You could slam the door shut now. I mean, you could just, and just... done. And people know it's an ending, and it doesn't stop. We used to think that if you didn't end the big ending, die! Yeah! Wait! More! One more? No, it can't end like this! One more! One more. Just one. One more. One more! Two more? And so you can always, we used to think that's going to get the audience response, and many times it did, especially if you're playing a song that not a lot of people know, but it's a different world now. People are much more sophisticated. I never got to see a concert unless I was there in person. Now you can watch a million concerts online, and you understand the nuances that go into all this. Someone asked if I recorded an entire acoustic album. Josh, I will address this. I have wanted to for so long. I did an acoustic Christmas album. I released acoustic songs. That's a new day. I've got some really great acoustic music. When I was in Holland, we did that song. Like Long Way From Home. And here's what happens. I never get a chance to do it. With Sawtooth, Joe, Fuco, the drummer in the MAB band, who's also one of the main owners, he's a fantastic drummer, but he's also fantastic on cajon. So we did a bunch of songs on cajon, and the singer of the MAB band and bass player Nils has got a great voice. So we can do some really cool acoustic things. And I've wanted to record an acoustic album forever. It always seems like a project gets in the way. Something happens where my career, it's fluid. That's the word I use. The things, you start off somewhere. You just start. If you have any questions about where you want to go in life, just start something, because if you work at it, the image will become clear as you move along. And that's what we say with Joe and I. We start things. We talk about it. Let's start, let's design a guitar. Let's work on a song. Let's record something. So we start with an idea, and then it comes to fruition by just talking about it and working it out and actually doing it. But every time I've gone to record an acoustic album, some other big project gets in the way, and not gets in the way, but I become involved in something, whether it's, with Sawtooth, I've done a lot of acoustic pieces with them, but not an album. And then, joining Man-O-War, it took on a whole different life of its own. And Joey, the bass player, is amazing, but he plays that high, it's almost like a piccolo bass. And so he plays acoustic guitar parts on a bass. It's pretty incredible, like the songs Battle Hymn and all that. And so, again, I get to use clean guitar in Man-O-War, but not acoustic. And because, he takes up a lot of those parts, and it's fantastic. So one day I will record that acoustic album. I just love it. And, Northeastern Illinois University, just missed it. Yeah, it was, let's see. Somebody asked, Michael, do you find acoustic guitars without cutaways on the body, do they represent obstacles for the higher notes? That's a good question, because if you look at like gypsy jazz guitars and guitars where you really riff out, so I think in some ways it's an impediment. Yeah. I don't have the range here without doing like that, but there's a trade-off to it. Most of the speaking length of the instrument, the neck, the things you really want to use a 12-string for, it just sounds so good, so yeah, you might miss a little bit of it, but there's so many notes you can play. Do you really need to be up in the stratosphere all the time? So anything from the 17th fret, that's where it gets a little harder, but like, So it's not that hard to play up there. And there's so much of the acoustic that just sounds fantastic. Somebody asked who's my favorite guitarist besides myself. I used to make a joke and said I have three. Me, myself, and I! But that was Joey talking. But I didn't necessarily disagree with him. But there's so many great guitarists. It's like, which genre? But I can tell you one thing I did know about myself that it took me a long time to figure out. I'll tell you what I am versus what I'm not. If you had to pick two classic guitar players, say Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix, okay, you had those two. And, it's kind of like in the old days when they used to ask on Gilligan's Island, are you for the one girl or the other? You know what I mean? The Hollywood star, and I can't remember their names, but there were things that people used to ask, do you like this or this? And it kind of said things about your personality. So I'm going to use two guitar players that came up in the same era but are radically, radically different. You have Eric Clapton, who I don't know if many of you know this unless you're older. He was a guitar hero during his time. Then he called himself Slowhand and he became a super successful pop artist. He started writing songs like Layla and leaving the guitar work, to other people like Duane Allman. And, not that he still didn't play, he did, but it wasn't Guitar Hero stuff where that's what he did. He was an amazing songwriter, singer, but he was an amazing guitarist early in his career. And he was considered a guitar hero. So you have Eric Clapton and you have Jimi Hendrix. Now, here's the biggest difference that I can see. If we never heard Jimi Hendrix play, let's just say the only time people, like for example, Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, we never heard them play. There's absolutely zero recordings. There's no photos. There's no real life documentation of what they did because none of that was invented during their lifetime. All we have are the notes and the music. But the music is an extremely accurate depiction of the way they played and sounded. So we know the instruments. By reading the music, we have a very accurate idea of how to play the music and what it's supposed to sound like. Let's move it up to the 20th century. If we didn't know what Jimi Hendrix sounded like on his guitar, there's absolutely no way we could notate it. You can't notate like wow, 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 wow. When he makes his guitar talk, wow, 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 wow. How do you notate wow, 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 wow? You sound like Affleck. I sound like a damn duck. Wow, 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 wow. Or how do you notate those squeals on like the song Machine Gun, or when he's making it talk on Voodoo Child, wow, 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 oh, wow, wow. There's zero chance you can notate it. But Eric Clapton can be notated. Eric Clapton's like, that doesn't make him any less of a guitar god. You can notate it. You can notate Al Di Meola, but it's very difficult to notate Eddie Van Halen. And so you have these guitarists that are equally as amazing, but different. I realized for myself I fall under the Eric Clapton because my playing can be notated. I don't play like with this, like almost like not reckless abandon, but yeah, I can do all the dive bombs and the squeals, but I don't use the wah like that. And so I learned a lot about myself by listening to other players. Like, do I love Van Halen? Yes. I would be a terrible Van Halen cover band. Not that I can't play and anything that he could play. I just play it like me. I don't hear it the way he hears it. And so, for me to copy Van Halen, yeah, I could copy it, but it's so far away from how I feel about music. Whereas, you get to the Al Di Meolas and John McLaughlin's and Paco de Lucia and all these other guitarists. Or Robert Fripp from King Crimson, or even somebody like an Alan Holdsworth. those notes can be duplicated. And so I realized, well, yeah, somebody said it was the guitar Picasso. I would agree with that. I mean, I love Hendrix, don't get me wrong. It's just, but I think in understanding oneself, I think that it goes a long way. Like, for example, you say about the frets. Can you play up in the high frets? Yeah. But is this really, do you really need to for a guitar like this? Not really. I mean, listen how beautiful it sounds. So it's a good thing to find yourself, to find your own voice. And there are some people out there that their voice is other voices. And that's an interesting thing too, because there are people out there that don't necessarily have their own voice, but they have a voice that feels more comfortable for them playing in the style of Jimi Hendrix or playing in the style of Eddie Van Halen or Yngwie Malmsteen or, shredding out like... So yeah, 12 Strings of Death. Hey Denny, how are you? It's not just 12 strings of death. It's 12 strings of death! Doom! Destruction! Mayhem! I think this would be a good song to write a vegan death metal song. I've been working on broccoli. Broccoli is good for me. Cauliflower gives me power. Death, death, the tritone to meet. So I'm working on that one, but this is a little too high. All I know is this. What was that song? It's called Broccoli. It's vegan death metal. And so, yeah, the double guitar solo, 12 strings of death. True. That's, hey, Nick. And, but do I ever drop D a 12-string guitar? Now, that's a good question. Not a 12-string, but a 6-string. I've dropped D a lot. When you get composers like Mark Tremonti, he lives by the drop D. I mean, that's how he wrote a lot of the Creed songs and Alter Bridge. It's, and the thing that's really cool is that when you drop D, you've got the length of a fifth. So just doing something like this is this. And so you get a very, very different sound. It's great. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about, it is Sawtooth's 10-year anniversary, but I can say this unequivocally. If you get a Sawtooth acoustic, you cannot go wrong. They are so good. My former guitar company, which I love dearly, the owner had passed away. I loved their electric guitars, but they made terrible acoustics. I didn't like the sound. I didn't like the intonation. It was thin. I never used one in the studio. I have only one left because I like the wood of the guitar. It's really beautiful, but it plays terribly. And these are real serious instruments. The intonation. I've been beating the heck out of this. And it's still... Listen to that. That's a D chord. That's very easy to play out of tune. But it's just perfectly in, and that's a credit to Sawtooth and a credit to the way they manufacture. They're very specific on specs. We manufacture better than almost everybody. And that's why they can give you such a great price, and especially with 0% financing. Now, let's see. Mini drop down to get heavier sounds. Somebody said that about A440. Yeah, I agree. There's just so many good bands and music out there right now. It's just a pleasure to be in music. And, somebody asked me a long time ago, they said, Michael, aren't you worried that you're giving too much of yourself? Because I've been doing these, online chats, for 3 years now. And COVID, believe it or not, 3 years in March 2020 is when I started. And, I have Metal Method instructional programs, which, by the way, it's called Beyond Speed Kills. We have a sale going on through Sunday. metalmethod.com or my own URL, which is learntoshred.com, but you put learn-to-shred. But we've got a great sale on the Speed Kills products. But getting back to this, on my videos, I don't talk much. I show the exercises, but here, I get a chance to talk and give you kind of the world according to Mikey, Joey, and Robert. But, I live by kind of a code, whether it's in music or in life. To me, it's all intertwined. And one of them is, I've been dealt with a lot of stuff in my life. I'm older. I don't have any family left. My dad's gone. My mom's gone. My grandparents are gone. My younger sister passed away. I basically have, my closest family members are me, my brother-in-law, and my nephew, Alex. And then I have first cousins that I love dearly on my mom's side. We're close as far as we're very tight, but we don't see each other very often. And, outside of them and a few aunts and uncles, and not even uncles, just my Aunt Pat, I don't really have a big family that I see at all. And, so to me, a lot of it in my personal life has to do with my public life, because I work super hard at music. Nobody gave me anything. Nobody said, Michael, you're so wonderful, we're going to just do stuff for you. You have to earn it. You have to earn it every day. And I practice and I keep my chops up. And playing in Man of War is an amazing thing, but you're dealing with an arena-type band that sells out venues that Kiss plays. And it's a lot of responsibility, and you've got to be on your game. You've got to watch where the pyro is. James Hetfield got hurt. You've got to be real cognizant of where you're at on stage. You have to watch for Eric, the singer. You have to know your cues. It's a lot more than just playing the music, and you've got to be super tight. A Man of War is, the rhythm section's got to be right dead on. And so getting back to this thing where somebody said, Michael, aren't you worried about showing too much? I have showed every technique I know. I have done, 13 or 14 instructional programs through Metal Method. I talk to you guys every week about, it might not show as much playing every week, but between Metal Method and then just listening to me talk, you guys get a real good idea of where my head's at. And I give a lot of life lessons. It's not just a weekly thing. See, because, people say, well, why do so many, rock stars talk to you about technique or come to you? These are life lessons, because if I can just change one thing on your playing, one little thing that stops you from getting carpal tunnel, or that it helps you facilitate a riff to be able to play better technically, what is that worth? What is it changing your life worth? And so I told the person who asked that question, I said, I'm not afraid at all. I want to show everything that I can, because if I'm afraid to show you something, it means that I'm not confident in my own ability, that, someone's going to get better than me. Well, I don't compare myself to other people. It's like my double guitar. We released a limited edition of 50. Did I know the Do would buy one and post it? No, I had no idea. We see millions of views later, they're using the Sawtooth double. So I could have told Sawtooth, I don't want anybody to play the double because that's my thing. And then out of the woodwork, people start saying, well, this one guy did it before you. Nobody did it before me. Sorry. It just didn't happen. I had a lefty and right-handed guitar in my early 20s. And if somebody would have done it, they would have told me or Steve Vai 30 years ago. And so the point is, I'm not afraid to show it, because I want to help you as much as I can. And in turn, it helps me. It's win-win. It's not win-lose, win-lose. If I held back from you, what kind of person would I be? I want to help you, but it helps me be a better guitarist and, in fact, be a better person. I'm no saint or role model. I never professed to be. I just want to help people in a way on guitar that genuinely helps them play the music they want to play. And understanding yourself is a long way to go. If you understand, okay, I've got a problem with this, we'll work on that problem. Well, tapping doesn't come easy to me. I'm left-handed. Robert was my weak hand. It took me 2 years to develop my picking technique. I made an analysis, a study, and I analyzed picking like you cannot possibly believe. So you don't have to do it. I can just tell you, there's two basic picking styles. You have this free form, like where you're a floating mechanism, or you put your fingers down. That's it. Some people use a combination of two. I mean, I think we all do, but usually you pick one or the other. John Petrucci, myself, a lot of bluegrass players that play super fast have their finger down. John McLaughlin, even Joe Bonamassa uses this free floating mechanism. Robert Fripp, it can go on and on. I can talk about it all day. But those are the basic two. Well, I didn't know that. I studied it because I couldn't understand, one, how I played fast, and two, how I could get faster. So that's about it. Anyway, that's about it for today. Not CNN. This is called SHRED TV. We don't do CNN. We don't do Fox. We don't do nothing. We ain't the news. We're the shred. That's what we do. Death, mayhem, destruction, vegan death metal. Anyway, I'm Michelangelo Badio. I'm going to be on tour. Did you just shut me off? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm going to be on tour in Europe starting next week. I'm going to be headlining this tour. Then other band, Gus G's going to be playing. That was with Ozzy. He's a great guitar player, a good friend. Andrea Martincelli, another great guitar player. And then a guy, Rowan Robertson, who played with Ronnie James Dio. I'm not as familiar with his work, but he seems super cool and great player. And we're going to each do sets, and then we're going to jam together. But I posted the tour schedule on multiple social media pages. If you want to get tickets, contact the venue. And then after that, I meet up with Manowar, and then there's a bunch of Manowar shows coming up. So anyway, I just want to say this. I'm Michelangelo Badio for Sawtooth Guitars, for ChromaCast, for Goatee PS Music. See ya.